Hey everyone. Okay, well today is, what is today? Oh, today is Wednesday, January 16th. So I'm going to put January 16th. Today we were talking about triangles, we were classifying them, and so in class today we had already worked on problems 1, 2, and 3. Alright, we had talked about an isosceles triangle, and an isosceles triangle we said the SOS means side, opposite, side, which means that the side that's opposite the side are equal to each other. So looking at this number 1, this 1 mark matches this 1 hash mark. Here it said that this side opposite this side are congruent to each other. So an isosceles triangle are going to have 2 lines that are equal to each other. So this is 1 line and that's 2 lines that are equivalent or congruent. A scaling triangle has 0 lines that are equal to each other. That means no lines are going to match each other. They're going to all have a different measurement. And an equilateral triangle, that means that all 3 of the lines are equal to each other. So because in a triangle, there are only 3 lines. So here we said that this was going to be an isosceles triangle, but then we also had to identify it as being acute, obtuse, or right angle. When we said that if it's going to be obtuse, it would have 2 acute and 1 obtuse. So this one here has an obtuse angle, which means that it is greater than, it's going to be greater than, what did we say, 90 degrees? But it cannot be more than 180. But not more than 180 degrees. Because then if it's on there, we said that it would be a flat line, and we're looking at only the top part of the protractor, right? So think about that. So this is obtuse. It's going to have the 2 acute angles, so saying that this angle and this angle are congruent, and then it has the 1 obtuse. So an obtuse will have 1 obtuse angle, and then the other 2 would be acute. So here, this is an isosceles obtuse triangle. Okay? Now let's move over to number 2. This is already giving you a dimension of this angle, which is 120 degrees. Well, we just said that an obtuse angle is greater than 90, but not more than 180. So this is between 90 and 180. So this makes it an obtuse triangle. Okay? Now we're looking at, when we're classifying, we have to look at the sides, its measurement, and the angles. So here I have no lines, which means that this line segment is not congruent to this one, which is not congruent to that third one. So all 3 sides are different sizes. So if none of them are congruent, we say that it's a scalene because there's nothing that they're equal to. Now, what helps me remember that I've talked about it in class is I think about music scales. So when you're doing music scales, every note is different. There's not one note that's going to sound the same. And so I think of scales, and that kind of helps me through because I played a clarinet in high school and in middle school. And so when I had to do all my scales, again, not one note was equal to each other. They weren't the same. And so I had to, and that's how I relate this. Equilateral triangle, which means that all sides are equal. I have a hashtag here, mark, tag here, tag here. This is saying that this line segment here, this side here is congruent to this side here, which means that this side here is congruent. So all sides are congruent. So I have 1 side, 2 sides, 3 sides, all 3 are equal. So this is called an equilateral. I'm looking at the angles. These are acute. They're less than. And then somebody was asking me today, how can I tell Well, if you were to get a ruler, which I don't have a ruler, you can use a straight edge. So I'm going to get a sticky note. And if I were to make this line here, draw a straight line, this would be a right angle. So I know that it is less than 90. Here would have been my 90 degree, my right angle, 90 degrees. But this is less than 90, so I know that it's acute. All right, so that's an equilateral acute. So you had to do the rest of them on your own. All right, so I have 2 lines that are equal to each other, and so I say that that is a side opposite side. Do I have a side opposite side? So what kind of triangle is that? Isosceles. I-S-O-S, side opposite side. And so make sure that you keep saying that to yourself over and over so that your brain is able to process the information, and then you won't have any problem. You will see this. I'm telling you right now, you're going to see this on benchmark in 2 weeks. You're also going to see this on the STAR test in April. So you will have to classify figures. So please remember and know that an isosceles is a side opposite side. Side opposite the side. So it has 2 line segments that are equal to each other. I'm looking at this one right here. This is a right angle. So this is an isosceles right angle. I'm looking here at this one. And again, how many line segments do I have that are together? I have 2. This tells me that it's 1 line segment is equal to the other. So I have 2 that are equal in size. So which one would it be that has 2? Okay, it's going to be the isosceles. So I-S-O-S, side opposite side, C-E-L-E-S for isosceles. Well, look at this one. I have, this is an acute, this is an acute, and what size is this one here? So I have, this is acute, less than 90. So I have an isosceles acute triangle. Now, this one, I have no sides that are equal. So which one shows no sides that are equal? It's going to be the scalene. What kind of angle do I have here? It's a right. So I have a scalene right triangle. Circle the figure. So let's look at number 7. All right, so if you don't understand, stop the video, go back, check again. Please make sure that you mark that an isosceles triangle has 2 lines that are congruent. Scalene has 0 lines that are congruent. And an equilateral triangle has all sides that are congruent. Then you were looking at the angles. Is it acute, less than 90 degrees? Is it obtuse, greater than 90 degrees, but not more than 180? Or is it a right angle, which is exactly 90 degrees? Another thing that we talked about today, that if you were to add up the angles of a triangle, it will be a total of 180 degrees. You will need to know that for benchmark as well as STAR. And that was a review that came from 4th grade. So if you don't remember, that's one of those things that you were bringing up to 5th grade level. Number 7, circle the figure that does not belong. So let's look at what we have here. Looking at this one, I have 1 line segment that's equal to this one. So I have a side opposite side. So, excuse me. I'm looking at my angles. Those are acute. And then here I have a side opposite side. And then I'm looking at these here. So what kind of triangles would these be? Those are isosceles, side opposite side. And then what do I have here? I have 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to mark 1, 2, 3. 3 sides that are equivalent to each other. This is 1, 2, 1, 2. So what do I know that does not belong? This one here will not belong. And the reason I know that is that the 3rd triangle is not an isosceles triangle. So I'm going to go ahead and label this LOL. That's funny. I'm acronyming. Oh, well. So isosceles. This is an isosceles. And then when all three sides are equal to each other, what do we call that? There you go. It's an equilateral triangle. So the third shape, this one here, so the third, I should write the third triangle does not belong because it's not an isosceles triangle. Okay, does that make sense? Do you see how I labeled? So everything that I've done, I've gone through and I've labeled 1, 2, 1, 2. There's nothing here. 1, 2, 3. And that helps me identify the triangles. Please make sure you're doing this to back up the answers you get. The more times you show your evidence, the more times you're reinforcing your thinking. All right, number 8. Parker drew a triangle with no congruent sides and a 95-degree angle. Classify the triangle by the lengths of its sides and measure of its angles. Okay, so I know that I have draw a triangle with no congruent sides. So I'm going to, one of the ones that would be, classify the triangle by the lengths and its sides. So he drew a triangle with no congruent sides. All right, so what kind of triangle would that be that has no sides that are equal? Yeah, it's a scalene, 0 sides, no congruent sides. So Parker drew a scalene, now, and a 95-degree angle. If it is greater than 90, what kind of triangle would that be? Obtuse. So Parker drew a scalene obtuse triangle because, now what was the reason? None of the sides were congruent. And the angle is greater than 90 degrees. Okay? All right. Again, if you need to, pause it so that you can take a look at it. Make sure that you understand your information that you have down, and then you can move on. So I'm going over to page 420, and this is where you were doing the even numbers. We were doing 10, 12, and 14. So the question is on number 10. I'll enlarge this just a bit so that you can see it. There we go. So which of these triangles is isosceles? I'm going to put 2 above this because it's side, opposite side, and acute. And on here, I'm going to put less than 90 degrees. Put the little degree symbol. So now I have to, here, this one has 0 sides. And it's 90 degrees, or you can put right for right angle. I'm going to do it like that for right angle. Okay, here I have 1, 2, and remember these 2 were acute, but this one is obtuse. So is that, so this is going to be, this is an isosceles.